It was a sunny afternoon on State Highway 45, the kind of day where everything should have gone smoothly right, but everything can change in an instant. General Marcus Rivera, a four-star general clad in his uniform, a man who had spent decades serving his country, found himself in a situation that left him both stunned and furious. He was driving home from a meeting minding his own business when he noticed flashing lights in his rearview mirror. At first, he thought there must be some mistake. Surely they weren't pulling over a four-star general. But there it was, Officer Sophia Walsh, a badge and an attitude emanating that kind of newfound authority that often comes with a uniform. Rivera calmly maintained his composure as he pulled to the side of the road, but the moment he stepped out of the car, everything shifted. License and registration, she barked, not a hint of recognition, her tone harsh enough to cut through even the most insipid chatter on the street. Rivera, trying to remain as diplomatic as possible, flashed his military ID. "I'm sorry, officer. I'm actually General Rivera and—" "Yeah, I don't want to hear it," she snapped back, eyes narrowing. She didn't even look at his ID, as if the very sight of a black man in uniform threw her completely off balance. You could feel the tension as bystanders started gathering, their disbelief palpable. Gasps, whispers, and hushed arguments rippled through the small crowd. "Is that really happening?" one onlooker murmured, shaking his head in disbelief. "Does she not know who she's dealing with?" General Rivera stood there, a storm brewing inside him, but calm on the outside, even as Officer Walsh's aggression escalated. "Ma'am, I'm just trying to—" "You think that badge means I care? You're getting arrested," she interjected, handcuffing him right there by the side of the road. In a twisted turn of fate, the general, known for his respect and discipline, was now being treated like a criminal. The scene revealed more than a simple misunderstanding. People were witnessing a perpetuation of bias that was all too familiar. Rivera, despite the anger bubbling inside him, chose restraint. He knew that any outburst would serve nothing, especially for the witnesses who could barely fathom what was unfolding in front of them. Fast forward a couple of hours, and Rivera found himself at the police station, still handcuffed, still waiting. Officer Walsh and her partner, Sergeant Carter, were chatting nonchalantly. No checks on his ID, no acknowledgement of the escalating public outcry. Rivera, now seated in a holding room, invoked the discipline of his military training. He meditated silently while simmering with indignation. Minutes turned to hours, and the tension was about to break. Then Deputy Ramirez and high-ranking officials stormed in, their expressions shifting from calm to wide-eyed terror as they took in the situation. There, nestled near the corner, was a four-star general, and the magnitude of their officer's blunder hit them with the force of a ton of bricks. It wasn't just a mistake. It was a multi-layered commentary on societal bias. "Wait, she didn't even check," Ramirez stammered, looking first at Walsh, then at Rivera. "Get him released immediately." Officer Walsh's face turned a deep crimson, a far cry from the authority she had wielded just hours before. This was a reality check that no one involved would ever forget. A formal apology was issued, the kind that made you wonder if words were enough. General Rivera, ever the professional, accepted it, but he wasn't done. "Your apology is appreciated," he said, "but I have something I need to discuss with Congress about racial bias in law enforcement." The Pentagon hearing was intense. Rivera stood before the panel, steady and sure, addressing the very officials that could implement real change. He spoke with candor about the incident and the systemic problems that had allowed it to happen. "This wasn't just my arrest, it's part of a larger pattern," he explained, showing them the meticulously gathered data that documented years of police discrimination. "Is this the standard of policing we want for our country?" He challenged, each word landing with the weight of his experience. What struck me most was how he managed to remain composed while addressing an issue that outraged him to the core. No shouting, no blaming, just the facts. The government response was surprising. They embraced Rivera's proposed reform protocols, ready to endorse them on a national level. The room fell silent as they took in not just his words, but the gravity of what they represented. And yet it wasn't just about policy, it was personal. Rivera shared the story of his father, a man who had faced his own challenges with law enforcement, the encounters that had shaped his worldview, and fueled Rivera's determination for change. "I don't want vengeance," he stated resolutely. "I want to change the system that failed my father." Meanwhile, Officer Walsh, once the face of an embarrassing mistake, became part of this unfolding narrative. She started to engage in understanding her biases willing to learn from her errors and seek growth. It was a testament to the transformative power of education and meaningful dialogue, turning a regretful incident into an opportunity for mutual understanding. General Rivera chose to rise above. It wasn't easy, trust me. But he knew that in fighting for justice, he was honoring not just his father's legacy, but also forging a path for future generations. As he reflected, you could see the weight of his journey in his eyes, a man who had turned a painful memory into a fire for change. So here we are standing at the crossroads of conversation about race authority and justice, reflecting on what happened to a man who against all odds emerged not only victorious but hopeful for the future. I want to hear from you. What does fighting prejudice look like in our society? How do we approach these difficult conversations? Let's keep this dialogue going in the comments. Share your thoughts, your own experiences, and remember, change begins with each of us.